Hello, good afternoon. This is Sri here, and I'm joined by Satish and Ireland. Hi, Satish. How are you?
Hi, Sridhar. Doing well. Excited
All
to be
right.
on.
All right. I know last week we could not get the schedules working, but I think you went three for three, and I went two for three, which is much better than my earlier predictions for previous weeks.
Hmm.
So we're going to start off week number 16. We already had one in the books with the Rams winning big yesterday against the Saints. But we get to six games this week, and we'll start with three for Satish, and I'll go with three uh, with my picks. So Satish, you had Texans, Browns, Lions, and Vikings, and Colts and Falcons, and then I had Jags and Buccaneers, Cowboys and Dolphins, and then Ravens and 49ers. So I'll give you the floor and start with, and then make your case and who's going to kind of win and what's with the spread and things like that. And let's get rolling.
All right, cool. So first thing, last week, I love the record, but I would have loved to have been wrong about the one that I think that was closest to my heart. It was kind of disappointing to see the way Broncos kind of finished last week, but anyway, it's that's why we play the game, right? So let me start. So how did I pick first of all these three games? I would say the if I look at Texans, I look at the Vikings, and I look at the Colts, they're kind of at the lower end of the eight that need to make it into the playoffs. And so they all have like dogs in the fight. And so let me start with Texans and Browns. To me, the biggest factor there is going to be CJ Stroud. And, he's back. And I think he does a lot for that team. And even though the Browns behind Flacco seem to have a bit of a resurgence, you think about it, the last two games, I think 2 games ago, Browns played Jacksonville. I think that they won. That was a good one. But after that, I don't think they've kind of gotten by. I feel like CJ Stroud has a point to prove, and Texans are really fighting for that spot. They're, like I said, probably seventh or eighth in the hunt. I
Uh-huh.
think they'll win, and I think Browns have a advantage of 2.5 points, but I think they'll cover that.
Okay.
Lions and Vikes. So I picked the Lions last time, and for the reasons that probably they're still very strong, which is Goff. But the thing about Vikes is that they are in the hunt, and so for them, this is a bit of a desperation run. So I'm gonna go against the spread here too, and pick
Oh,
the Vikes. And I'll say that Nick Mullins. He can surprise you, and I know it's only been like a couple of games, but he has shown that he is capable. Lions still, their defense, in my view, last week's game notwithstanding, is suspect, and so I'm gonna give the Lions and the Vikings, I'm sorry, a chance because I think they have a bigger stake in this fight than the Lions do in terms of making it to the playoffs. The last one, Colts and Falcons. Um, Falcons really don't have much to fight for. Colts do. It's kind of interesting. Colts actually have a record that is, I think, 8-6, and Falcons is actually 6-8, and Falcons are favored. So go figure. I would say Colts actually have to find a way behind Minshew to pull this across the finish line. They had a nice game against the Bengals before, against the Steelers more recently. So I'm going to give them a shot and say they'll go beat the Falcons. So all three I picked, I'm going against the spread, Sridhar.
okay. So very interesting. I mean, just looking at your Texans Browns, I think the Browns still their defense is still good. So I can see where how you're picking the Browns there. I think the Lions and Vikings, and I
I
think
pick I pick I picked the Texans.
oh, you
I
picked the
picked
Texans. You
CJ
picked the
Stroud.
Texans.
Yeah.
Sorry about my apology. But but the Browns, I mean, they still have good defense, and I
Hmm.
do think that they have a good shot. But again, that's your pick, and I'll get to mine. But the second one I did, the one that surprised me more was the Lions and Vikings, because the Lions are clicking on all cylinders, and I think the Vikings. While Nick Mullins, I think he's a good quarterback, good serviceable quarterback. I was a little surprised about the pick, but let's see. Yeah, end of the day, you still have to play the game. And then the Colts and Falcons. I think I like your pick with the Colts. And in fact, I'll get to my game, which has an impact to the Colts because that's the Jacksonville Jaguars versus
Mm,
Buccaneers. So, from what I just heard as I was driving, making my run with their errands, I was
hmm.
hearing someone comment on the Jags, and I heard a headliner about Jags and Buccaneers because Trevor Lawrence still hasn't practiced. He's still in concussion protocol.
Is
And
that right?
yes, and I think the coach did say that, Doug Peterson did say that the chances of him starting is better than a coin flip, which is not saying much. So as soon as I heard that, I was actually going to pick the
You
Jaguars.
changed your pick?
I changed my pick in the car literally 10 minutes ago. I'm going to change the pick to the Buccaneers because the Buccaneers actually went on the road. They won. The Buccaneers just have an opening. They're playing at home with the Saints losing
Mm,
to the Rams yesterday. The Buccaneers have a very good. They're playing at Raymond James, and Baker has actually been playing pretty well. Mike Evans is Mike Evans, and I think the
yep.
Buccaneers defense um, will will keep. I think C.J. Beathard is the quarterback for Jacksonville if
Oh, wow.
Trevor
Blast
Lawrence
from the
doesn't go.
past.
Yes, back from the past. And it's funny. C.J. Beathard and Nick Mullins, I think they both played for 49ers, which is kind of interesting, I think. And so I'm picking the Jags. In fact, I'm picking the Buccaneers to beat the Jags, even though the Jags are favored by one. I don't know when the line came out, so maybe the line will move in Vegas today after they heard Trevor Lawrence, uh, story. The second one is the Cowboys and Dolphins. Well, here's the thing. I think you had the uh, chance of picking the Cowboys and Bills last week, and I think you went Bills heavy last time.
Oh,
And
yeah.
and I think a lot of people are calling the Cowboys a fraud team. They're very tough. They're good at home in Jerry's world, but when they travel, they kind of stink up the joint. So
Mm,
as they say, but I think they're going and playing against the Dolphins. The Dolphins, they had a very tough loss against the Titans at home, up by 13 with like 4 minutes to go. But they bounced back and beat the hapless Jets last week. And I think looks like Tyreek Hill should be back. And uh, I don't see the Cowboys going on the road and beating Dolphins. So Dolphins were by one, so I'm going to pick the Dolphins, staying with that spread itself. And then the last game, the Ravens and 49ers. This is
wow. What a game.
what a game. It's funny because the 49ers are picked by 4.5. Although I do feel that the 49ers, I didn't see the stat. Again, I heard this on radio again while driving in today. And 49ers, since they had a 3-game losing streak, they've been averaging close to 30 points. The two lowest point they scored are 27 points. So the Ravens
Wow.
better score 28 points or more to beat this 49ers team. And the other thing is that the 49ers defense, I didn't realize they only give up like 16 to 17 points a game. So
Mm,
49ers offense, we all know. Now, if the 49ers go up very early on Ravens, the Ravens will be forced to throw, and that's not their strength. The 49ers, the Ravens defense is pretty good. I still
it
think they're
is.
very.
Yeah. Yeah.
The Ravens also gave up 30 points to the Rams. They barely beat them in overtime at home, but this is on the road. So that is my case for 49ers, not only covering the spread, but beating the Ravens handily, even though this is what a lot of people are talking about a potential Super Bowl matchup. Because when you look at the records for both the divisions, both of them have the best division in both the divisions. So it does seem like this is like a Super Bowl matchup on paper, but I think on the field, obviously a lot of things could go wrong for the 49ers, but right now they're healthy. They're clicking on all cylinders. Their offense is as good. They got everybody. They got the MVP, Brock Purdy. They got CMC, who Brady even called him in his podcast, uh, this case for the MVP, NFL
Yeah.
MVP. And then you got Debo Samuel and the defense. Don't forget, like Bosa, Chase Young, and Armstead. This is really good defense.
I know. I
So
know. 49ers look great on paper, Sridhar,
yeah,
and of course on the field too. But
Yep.
look, and I think you are in the same camp as I am. You know, Lamar is the guy, and he can make things happen. So if 49ers don't jump ahead too quickly, I think Ravens will give them a run. But that should be a fantastic game.
Yep. So we got six. And in fact, I was going to have even my son Anish join the podcast today, but he said we already picked all the best games and he didn't want to pick the Patriots and Chargers, Patriots and
Yeah.
the Broncos. So, but hopefully, I mean, for your team, hopefully they can bounce back against the Patriots. I have zero stake except that I'm just looking at the number two pick. So let's
Yeah,
hope.
I'll be midair somewhere over the Pacific. So,
All
we'll
right.
find out when I
All
get
right.
there. We'll see.
All right. So this is good. Thank you, Satish. Enjoy. Happy holidays for all our listeners as well. And let's see if our predictions come true. And thank you for joining.
Yeah, thanks, Reader. Happy holidays, everyone. Bye.
You too.